Hi, I'm Patty Salo Downs. I'm the Executive Director at the Alworth Scholarship Foundation. I'm here with Gina Apodaca. She is my colleague who works in our two-person office together, and she's running the slides today, and I'm going to be telling you about the Alworth Scholarship opportunity, as well as providing you tips for applying for scholarships in general. So let's start out. What is a scholarship? It is amount of money that is given by a school, an organization, or individual to help someone pay for additional schooling beyond high school. Specifically, when we talk about a scholarship, it can be anything from a certificate for a trade, a 2-year associate degree, or a 4-year college degree. So when I use the word scholarship, I'm actually talking about the whole range of different types of post-secondary education. But it's free money. It's money you don't have to pay back. Banks are very, very happy to loan you the money to help you pay for school, but it's an option, a last resort option, I like to call it that. I would encourage every senior in high school to start applying for scholarships now, because you could potentially have the success that one student at Esco High School had several years ago. She applied for 15 different scholarships. She received 10 of them and had over $80,000 in her hip pocket to help her pay for school. That is a huge chunk of change, and one that she was able to apply to all the expenses so that she could spend more time on her studies. The average loan amount that most students have upon completion of a 4-year degree is $31,000. That's a big chunk of change to pay back. And I'm sure you'd rather spend that money on some other things like a new car, or perhaps a down payment on a house or something of that nature. So try not to saddle yourself with a ton of debt throughout your time in college. Why scholarships? That's a big question. Well, first of all, you can graduate with little to no debt. There are students all the time that we hear from telling us so, that with the Alworth, they were able to do that. You also have the opportunity to participate in study abroad, internships, undergraduate research, co-op programs, things like that that will help add to your resume and future graduate school studies, or perhaps future employment. One of the benefits that we hear often is I was able to attend my first choice of college, and that is a huge gift to that student because that was their dream college. You get to devote your time to your studies and activities and building those credentials. The snowmobile challenge, our engineers love that. And it's so fun to hear about all the things they've learned by being involved in that activity, and perhaps even going to nationals. And it just adds so much to their resume when they're applying for future employment. It provides you flexibility so you can explore your interests. You might be someone who likes physics, you might be someone who likes biology, but you don't really know where you want to put your emphasis for your studies. With a scholarship, you have a little bit more flexibility and ease of mind to explore. The one thing that I think is really helpful in receiving scholarships, and students tell us this all the time, that the support and recognition helped me to believe in myself. And when, consider this, we have 8 board members who make the selections each year at the foundation. And to know that 8 people picked you to receive $20,000, well, one of the benefits is that in college, when it gets really, really tough, studies are hard, you've got deadlines, papers due, tests to study for, and you're dead tired and you've got to keep going, you can dial into those 8 people who believed in you. And that may be enough of the high octane fuel to get you through that next deadline. The other reason, and this is by far, I think, one of the most profound, is that by receiving scholarships, that is the most money you'll ever make per hour in your entire life. So for example, the Alworth is $20,000. If it takes you 4 hours to fill out the application and next April you get that congratulations letter, you just made $5,000 an hour. That is phenomenal. And I don't know of anyone who can make that much money per hour other than through applying for scholarships. And keep in mind, the little ones count. They add up. So don't, look at the other scholarship opportunities and go for everything and anything that you are eligible to apply for and make it happen for you. So the Alworth, let's talk a little bit more about it. In 1949, Mr. Alworth set up the scholarship because he wanted to help prepare students for careers that would be of benefit to humanity, specifically his passion for math and science, medicine, and research. He was jazzed about those fields, and that's why we have that focus. He also wanted to fund students of high academic ability. And how we determine that in our foundation, we have set minimum standards, a minimum ACT score of 25, a minimum GPA of 3.5, and we're looking for that math and science emphasis in your studies. If you don't see your major listed on our website, please contact us so that we can see if it is something that we would fund. We're also looking for those students who have demonstrated character, perseverance, ambition. It's often called grit these days. And Mr. Alworth, he left home at age 14 in the mid 1800s, and he made his way across North America doing land surveying. And he had to have a lot of grit, and he had to have a lot of gumption, to wander about during those times and land in Duluth, and then subsequently making a fortune in the activities that he engaged in. So we want, the students who have some of those qualities to certainly be recognized and emulate some of Mr. Alworth's qualities. We're also looking at financial need. Mr. Alworth felt that a lot of students weren't able to complete college because they ran out of money. And so the financial need is determined by the IRS 1040 information, and taxable income must be less than $125,000. And that's something that, you'll need to work with your parents to determine if you meet that mark. And we also look for one letter of recommendation from a math and science teacher. And it's really important that it comes from a math and science teacher, because this is a STEM scholarship. And I always feel sad every year when the band teacher, Spanish teacher, English teacher shows up as the letter writer for some of our applicants. And yeah, I feel bad because they didn't follow directions. So we can move on to the next slide. Oh, and I also want to mention too, that's okay, we can stay here, that we typically have about 160 to 180 people apply for the scholarship, and about 60 to 70 get offered the scholarship each spring. So your chances of, being selected are really, really good, between 30 and 40%. So this is a scholarship that has great potential for those who apply. Application contents, typically scholarships will ask for academics and test scores. Some don't. Activities, awards, and leaderships, they want to know how you've been spending your time. Teacher recommendations, essays, finances, those are typical categories in scholarship applications. Transcripts from school, yes, we will require a transcript. At the end of the fall semester, we want to see your grades through fall. No need to worry about forwarding that information to us. We will actually contact the counseling office and ask for that information directly from them. As far as the ACT is concerned, yes, you must take it. The good news is that we will accept December and February test scores. As long as you complete your application and submit it by the deadline, those test scores can catch up with your application. There's another option for you in taking the ACT test from home. I was recently made aware that that option is actually happening now, so you may want to pursue that as another option for getting the test taken. One thing to remember too, that the colleges are not accepting test scores. They don't need them. But if you're planning to apply for any merit-based type scholarships at the academic institution, you may need to submit those scores. So it's a good idea to take the test. Activities, awards, and volunteering. Everything you do is important. Over the past 4 years, we want to know how you've been spending your time. You know, it's not bragging, it's just providing us with facts. And please be thorough in that section. I always feel a bit sad when I see students kind of gloss over this section and then read about something in the letter of recommendation from the teacher that they received an award, or they did a science or space camp, or they were captain of the golf team and they didn't list it. You know, that causes a little dissonance in our, wow, what happened here? You know, why doesn't this information match up with what the teacher is talking about? So don't let that happen. Be thorough. And even dog walking, babysitting after school, shoveling a neighbor's sidewalk, it shows that you really care about others. And that's important. So list everything. The recommendation letters, it's a character reference. It's not a list of your activities. You've already provided that on the application. And so your first step is to ask personally the letter writer if they would be willing to submit a letter. And ask them now. Don't ask them on January 13th. I've had teachers call and say, Patty, I just got the request. I don't have time to do this student justice. They need time to write a really good letter about you. And what we're looking for, a character reference, is basically, who are you? How do you show up every day? What's your passion? What's your level of curiosity? How do you handle setbacks? Things like that. Why would they put money into your college education? We want to know that side of you, that perspective, how that teacher sees you is your future success in completing a degree, things like that. They can also talk about, you know, maybe some challenges that you overcame. Sometimes maybe ninth grade wasn't exactly the best year for you, but you've turned it around and now you're one of the top students in the class. Those are the kinds of things that we want to see in a letter of recommendation. The essays. So this is going to take the most time. It's probably the least favorite activity that students, you know, when they're applying for scholarships, the essay always gets a big groan. And I understand that. Writing about yourself and writing in general, most people are not exactly super excited, but it's very, very important that you take the time and you take this seriously. So some of the steps you can take now is to download the questions, start thinking about how you would answer them, ask around and get ideas, get feedback, ask your teachers, ask parents, ask, you know, maybe some relatives to, you know, help you get started. I think sometimes getting started is the biggest drawback to really diving into this process. Write a draft, get feedback, revise, get it proofed several times, ask for more feedback and revise if necessary, and get it proofed one last time. You cannot proof an essay too much, and I'll show you examples of what happens when you don't. So we have 4 questions on our application, and the top 2 bullet points are from our application. Tell us about a challenge. What did you learn? Describe your passion for your chosen field. So here's the deal. 2-part questions are 2-part questions. Most students will answer the challenge part and they'll do a great job, but they'll forget to dive into the details of what did you learn from this experience. So please, please notice, you know, 2-part questions, 3-part questions. The 3rd bullet point is a 3-part question. So answer all parts in writing your essay. And one of the things you do want to do is, you know, submit the real you, talk about the real you. I often get students asking, well, what do the scholarship committees really like to hear, you know? And I said, well, they want to know about you. So don't try to think, what would they like to hear? We want to hear about your passion. We want to hear about your vision, your dreams. You know, what was exciting for you in high school? You know, maybe you were on the robotics team and here's what you've learned. Those kinds of things are all great stories. and they make for a compelling read. Let's go to the next slide. So I've already talked a little bit about the first bullet point, but I do want to mention too that, we're not always successful 100% of the time. So maybe you had what I like to call them a little flaming failure, but flaming failures teach us so much. And I believe, to talk about what you learned from that circumstance is very, very important, because those learnings you'll be able to take and apply them to college, and that they will contribute to your future success. Give it some zest and passion. Oh gosh, if you're bored writing your letter, the committee will be bored reading it. I'm a straight line writer. I'm kind of boring myself when I write, and I have to get feedback on my writing because I can only think of so many adjectives or deleting a word, and then I just need some feedback. So get some zest and passion. And if that doesn't come naturally to you, talk to other people and have them help you change a few words to make your story a bit more compelling of a read. Think beyond I'm a hard worker. Oh my gosh, this is sort of the kind of worst statement you can include in your essay, because everybody puts that in their essay and it doesn't tell us anything. If you're going to talk about I'm a hard worker, you might want to say, I've exhibited hardworking ways, and then write down how. How have you done that? My hardworking ways have shown up by, and fill in the blank there. A common spelling error, and this just drives every committee crazy, is when they see the little I instead of the capital I, and that is the perfect mistake that will allow a committee member to put your application to the no pile. You don't want that. So be sure that, those spelling errors and things like that, the details are taken care of. That's why I recommend proofing it, so many times. Be concise and don't wait until the last minute. You cannot do a good job in writing your essays. So start now. Get a good draft by Thanksgiving if you possibly can. And start getting feedback on it. This is the vote getting section. I'm not going to lie. This is where we get to know more about you and get a good feel for what you want for your future. And so take this part seriously. Taxable income. The 2019 taxable income we require by January 15th. If by chance there has been a change between 2019 and 2020, we will accept the 2020. The difference is that the deadline is March 1st, but please contact our office to let us know that you will be submitting the 2020, so that we know that the January 15th deadline is not part of your application requirement. And yeah, blacking out all those social security numbers, things like that. And our commitment to each applicant is that this information is kept confidential, and we have measures in our office so that this type of information does not get into someone else's hands. So this, we know, is an important security thing, and we've done all the measures that we can do to keep your information safe. The other section in this scholarship process means telling us the additional. There may not be a spot, or there may be a spot on the application to share things such as needing to work versus doing school activities. My issue was I lived 30 miles from the high school, and my parents only had the one car, and I couldn't participate in after-school activities. And that would be something for the committee to really know about you. I was able to do other things such as 4-H, Girl Scouts, youth group at church, things like that. So I was able to include them, but my after school looked pretty pathetic. And we want to, committees want to know why, perhaps, that those things weren't, that was not part of your activities in school. Financial or medical hardships also, if that is something you or your family have experienced, find a spot to include that information. The application deadline is January 15th. That is not negotiable. You know, applications that come in after the deadline are not considered. They don't make it into the book of applicants for the board to review. Start now, get it done early. Try to get it done even before winter break, and then you have a stress-free winter break. But at the very latest, try to get it in before, you know, January 1, January 2. Get it off your plate as soon as possible. There is the opportunity, most scholarships will allow a gap year before starting college, and our foundation does that. So you need to apply as a senior, okay? You have to be in the pool, and then should you be awarded that letter, you get the congratulations letter, you're awarded, you can defer your scholarship for up to a year. And so the gap year is something we do offer. And in conclusion, okay, there's a ton of money out there, and I call it the scholarship money train. So start getting on it and pursuing all these opportunities. For example, there are numerous deadlines throughout the year, and your counseling office has all that information. And they are very good at keeping up to date and reminding people of deadlines. So go to that webpage and talk to them about, you know, what other opportunities are there out there for me, and just work it until you cross that stage next spring, you know, at your graduation. Check out other local high school websites. It is impossible for one school to keep track of everything, and you may find a scholarship or two on the other high school websites that ends up being a cash cow for you. So absolutely, kind of have some fun with this, you know, put your detective hat on and say, well, I'm going to check out this school's website and see what I can find in the way of scholarship money opportunities. The Google searches are less effective. You know, you're in a national pool, and sometimes the national pools have 200,000 applicants and they only award 50 scholarships, as the case of Coca-Cola. Well, in contrast to our scholarship, you know, we have about 180 students apply, and we end up awarding, you know, 60 to 70 students. So your odds of being selected are exponentially increased by sticking with the local and regional scholarship opportunities. Don't procrastinate, start today, develop a list of opportunities, find them, develop the list, and put the deadlines on your calendar and start working it. And the good news is that, you know, once you get some pretty good essays written, you can always just kind of copy and paste them in the other applications, and it makes it much easier as you go down the line. But the first, you know, big scholarship applications are going to take more time, but down the line, much less, because you've got your sound bites already taken care of. Any more questions that you have? We have 3 upcoming scholarship presentations, November, December, and January. That's a place where you can dial in and ask questions of David Hammer from the Duluth Superior Area Community Foundation and myself. We will be monitoring or moderating that session. Also, you can just contact me directly at the Alworth Foundation. Gina's there in my office. She'll get the Alworth email inquiry and she'll forward it on to me if necessary. And, you know, we want to be a part of your process here. We want you to be successful. And so that's why don't hesitate to contact us with your questions or concerns. And it's exciting because already I'm getting emails from students wondering if this major is fundable, and you know, wondering about a curriculum that is a blended, like more liberal arts and some science. You know, they want to know if that could actually be fundable. And the other thing to remember, you can always double major. So if you major in a math science field and then something else, that is also a possibility in our scholarship foundation. So that's another way to get into the applicant pool and be considered. So thank you for listening today. I sincerely hope you take this information and make it useful and work for you. You'll be so glad you did, because to graduate with little to no debt is like the best freedom possible that you could have upon completion of any type of education. And there's a ton of people out there who are willing to help you pay for school beyond the banks and your parents. So go for the gold. Thank you.